MgTOw monk. Hey everyone, thanks for coming and listening to the MgTOw monk channel. I want to talk a little bit about getting out of the slave cubes and how our society has freedom stacked against us. If you think about it, one of the first things you should ask is, where are the children? We're living in a really synthetic world where all the children are kept away, locked in prison schools, forced to regurgitate useless information, and it's all just obedience training. And you literally go from your little square desk to a little polyester-coated cube in a slave factory. You do your hellish commute, you wake up in the morning, you go to work. You have to spend all day doing stuff you hate with people you don't like. You're stressed, you're tired. And what you don't realize is the employment contract, they want all of you. They want your whole sustenance. Now, what you'll find is that if you're a dumb, lazy person, this is a great deal. Because essentially you'll get pretty high pay for doing absolutely nothing. And this is especially true in all the government jobs. But if you're a creative, hard-working, smart, diligent person, you're getting screwed. They're taking all your efforts, walking away with millions, and you get just a pittance. And they take everything from you. They take your whole life. You have no energy left to do anything else. And basically it's just modified slavery. So what they realized is slavery was too difficult because you had to actually shelter and feed the slaves and discipline them. It was all just too much work. So the new system is a lot easier because the slaves have to wash themselves, wash their own clothes, take care of their own housing, which they have to get themselves. And the employers still get all the benefits. So, one of the really important things with MgTOw is, first there's a transformative process where you look at the several relationships you've had that have fallen apart, and you go, well, that was with several women, so it's me, it must be me. I'm at fault. But then, it takes a long time. You have to really get to know women, and you realize, well, there is another solution to the equation, and that is, all women are like this. And it wasn't you at all. It had nothing to do with you. And that's the breakthrough. That's the red pill. And once you realize that, you want very little to do with them. The starry-eyed dreams that you had in your 20s don't make sense anymore. Once you get through that, and you're starting to rebalance your life is shifting in focus. Because if you weren't married with kids, a lot of your energy was based on trying to find a partner, dating, sex, making a fiancé, trying to get married, all of that. So, if that stops, then you start to switch and think about career. But for most people, a career is, like I said, it's doing the horrible drive, having to wake up early, you didn't get enough sleep, you're in a daze. You go to the office, everybody treats you like shit, you do tons of work, nobody cares, nobody respects you. And then you go home, and then there's another horrible commute. And you don't even eat good food because all the outside food in America is garbage food. It's all fatty and old vegetables and crappy, mass-grown meats, and it's all just junk. So, one of the things you have to start waking up to, and it takes a bit longer, is you start to see your whole life you were groomed as a slave. You were never groomed to be free. And the government doesn't want you to be free. The government doesn't want creative people. They want people to pay their taxes, do their dumb little jobs, stay in the system, and it will just suck you in. And if you're in it, if you're inside it, it's very hard to get out of it. It's very, very hard to stop. And you'll find yourself, though, over the years, getting more and more tired. You'll start to get sick. You'll start to have no energy. You'll start to get depressed. You won't even have the gumption to go out on the weekends and do much anymore. And really, you are just a pod person. You're just an empty vessel. So, you have to see that your whole life, all of your school was just slave training, even all of college. College just means that you're able to accept tons of torture and bullshit and get through it. That's all college degree means. Doesn't mean you're smart. Doesn't mean you learned anything. It means you're willing to accept torture. And they tell you, oh, climb the ladder. You can climb the ladder. Sure, you can. The funny thing about climbing the ladder is that once you get to the top, the jobs aren't there, or the pay isn't there, or everything's gone to shit. You know, something's happened. So that big reward you would strive for usually never comes. It usually doesn't happen. And even if it did, you're probably on the path to a heart attack and early death. So, what can you do? And one of the things that you pretty much have to do is you have to start planning to get out of America or any of the other Western countries, England, Australia. They're all pretty much the same bad deal. And the other thing is they're designed so that your whole output is enough to basically pay for a woman to live in luxury and the kids and saving for retirement and all these extra fees and all the high medical costs. And you just have to get out of the system. You have to walk away. You have to walk away from the success track, which is killing you, and find a path to start over in a country that isn't a welfare country. So if it's not a welfare country and you can earn your earnings online through a small business, then you won't be taxed. In the US, you'll have a $100,000 exclusion. So that's enough to live on like a king, and you'll do really well. The hard part is coming up with ways to be successful, ways to have earnings. So you have to plan your nest egg. You have to plan a savings, a good chunk. Say 25,000 minimum, maybe 40 or 50,000. A lot of people will say you don't need that much, but you want to make sure you're covered for the first 2 years. So even if you live really cheaply, you're not going to live on less than $1,200 a month, even in Bangkok or Thailand or Guatemala. You're still going to have a rent. Now, if you want to live like in a shithole and have a dumpy apartment, okay, yeah, you can live a little cheaper. But if you want to have a small house or a nice condo, they're $500 even in those countries. Then add car insurance, health insurance, $400 a month for food. That's low. Transportation costs. And if you have a car, you've got a gas and insurance for that. So it's not going to be so simple to live on $500 a month. You really need $1,200. And $1,500 you do quite okay. If you start thinking about what you really want to do with your life, I think there's a lot of opportunities for doing small things that don't make a lot of money, that aren't what venture capitalists are looking to invest in, but that can bring in an income. And even if it only brings in an income of $500 a month, it's stretching your savings that much further. So some of the good things to think about are doing online training courses, things you can pre-record, books you can write, although books I think are harder to sell. Things you can give away if somebody signs up for a Patreon level, or a small product that fits in a box that you can sell on Amazon. And always it's best to try to keep it narrow focused, simple. Think of just one thing. And when that's automated, when that's up and going, try another thing. So if you can get $200 off one, you can get $300 a month off another, and then suddenly you've got 4 things going. Now you're covering most of what you need to live on. So a lot of this time is going to be to experiment. One of the dangers of tech is that a lot of tech projects are really big. They take a lot of effort, a lot of people, or just a hell of a long time to get there. So I always recommend being careful with something that's technology-based. Try to do something that's knowledge-based, that's experience-based, and I think you'll have a lot more potential to sell that, to make that a lot more an easy turnaround for dollars, and that's really what you want. Another thing is think about pricing. You don't want to sell something that sells for $5 because your profit will be nothing, and you'll have so many sales and orders to manage. You also don't want to sell something that's $1,000 because it'll be a lot more required to get the sale done. It'll take a lot more to get somebody convinced that you're reputable. And so you'd have to actually probably be involved on the phone call or in meetings and whatever to get the sale through. So there is a kind of a sweet spot. So probably something that's $20 or $30 a month recurring is probably something you can find someone interested in, or a product that's, say, $40. Those are good price points to think about. Another thing is you'll see a lot of people who don't invent anything, who they're just like, oh, I found a product on Alibaba and I'm gonna market that. I'm gonna set up my web store and blah blah blah, and or I'll drop ship. And it's much better to have something that you actually invented that brings society forward. It's much better to have something that's unique and all yours. I thought for a while about selling, for example, some of these new high-end bicycle lights and branding them, getting my logo etched on it, and marketing it as a brand. But there are always just other lights out there that other people could get and sell at a bigger discount, and suddenly you don't have any advantage in the market. So I think you have to try to find something that has a bit of inventiveness in it, something that's unique, either a very unique angle. Take your time with that. Anyways, so we've been talking about escaping the cube farm, and one of the other aspects of this is you won't have the energy to think clearly enough to do this from within the system. So even if your first year out of the system is to do nothing but rest and detox and clear your head, it may just take that long to get better, to get your faculties working again. It can take if you've been working 20, 30 years, it can take a long time. So you shouldn't think, oh, I'm just going to drop out and immediately be productive on a new project. That's why I think you have to give yourself some space. One of the things Chris Cantu said was he even worked like menial jobs just so that his brain wouldn't be fried for the real work, for the real inventing he wanted to do. And I think that's right. Even though you don't earn very much, you aren't sapping your mental strength, your idea strength, doing something simple. So that's another strategy people take, especially in Asia where it's very cheap to live. Another thing is don't go for the big place at first. Get this smaller, simpler place, at least for the first 6 months. Learn about the city, see if you really want to be there. Take it a little bit slow at first, and then decide if you want to stay and you like it and you've got to start making some friends. Then yeah, get the nicer place then. And then also by then you'll start to see if you've actually got some ideas and you're starting to work on projects. It'll give you a better sense of your money supply. Okay, so that's this MgTOw monk episode on escaping the slave farms. I think it's very important you recognize that those are systems of hard slavery and abuse, and that the wealthy are profiting enormously off of you. And it's important to stay in them as you must, but strive ever for freedom. Please hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, and subscribe. And I hope that you enjoyed the MgTOw monk series. I'll keep making content, and as always, leave comments. I'd love to hear feedback and what you guys think.